It is Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. This is another edition of Baseball Today. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan, intern Tommy along for the ride as well, as we are just a few hours away from the end of the trade deadline. Are we still both with the company, or have we been moved?
What does that mean?
Have we been
traded. Oh, I get it now.
Jeez.
No, I have a no trade clause. You don't?
I mean, I don't know what I've got these days at any of the places I've worked. Got to be honest with you. It's kind of day to day with me around here. First of all, real quickly, what is it like in a clubhouse on a day like today?
Okay. Well, I thought you were talking about after the Twins got spanked by the Mets last night.
I don't care about that.
The trade, I mean, it's interesting. Definitely, in every single clubhouse, typically, there's MLB Network is just playing on in the background. No noise, just on. So you're looking at the ticker, you're seeing what's going on. I think guys are checking the phone. I mean, I believe it's Minnesota and what's the other team? There's one other team that has not made a move.
Oh yeah.
It's just two teams. Is it just the A's? Yeah, the A's and the Twins. So yeah, I think the guys are expecting something. If I'm being honest, I don't know if the Twins are making any moves today, but yeah, it's definitely you're checking things. You're aware 100%. If someone says they don't care, they're not aware, they're lying.
Okay. Well, I can tell you this: James McCann is moving immediately into the Toughness Hall of Fame. That's why he gets our tip of the cap today. First of two between the Orioles and the Blue Jays. He took 95 right to the beak, starts gushing, and you're thinking, "Oh God, he's done." But remember, he's the starting catcher that day, and they still have to play 2 full games. So he stayed in the game. They stick the swabs up his nose. He ends up catching the rest of the game, and he looked like this in the post-game interview.
Oh, my.
I
didn't see that picture.
Dude, is that ridiculous?
Good for him, man. Catchers are tough, dude. And James McCann, we've heard from, a bunch of guys before. I believe it was Lucas Giolito really sang his praises. So I dig that, dude. You got my approval right there.
Holy smokes. I cannot believe the medical staff allowed him to stay in there. I mean, his eye is halfway shut.
Yeah, I wonder what he said, because we had Jose Miranda go out the other day against the Tigers. He got hit, kind of in the C flap, and he wanted to stay in, but they're like, no, there's no way. So catchers are different.
They are different. They're different. Good for him. Okay, from the Let's Do It Again file. Late trade on Monday night. Jorge Soler is on his way back to Atlanta, along with one-time Brave reliever Luke Jackson. Soler, you'll remember, joined Atlanta in a midseason trade in 2021. All he did was help them win the World Series, and he was the World Series MVP. San Francisco gets injured lefty reliever Tyler Matzik and a minor league infielder. Is this deal more interesting from the Braves or the Giants' perspective?
I think you got to go Braves here. I think it's hilarious. We joked about this when some of the outfielders went down for the Braves. Hey, let's just run it back. Let's get these guys. Let's try to get Jock Peterson back here. They already got Eddie Rosario. Now they're bringing back Soler. So I think it's funny in that regard. I also think it helps their lineup. He's the numbers for Soler overall are just okay, but he's been hitting a lot better as of late. So they need that offense. As far as the Giants side, I think there's a couple things they're trying to do. They're trying to get under a tax threshold, which is always, something teams are interested in at this time of the year. But if you had to answer your question, I think it's way more interesting for the Braves.
I'm not so sure about that.
Okay.
I understand why they did it. Overall, the 3-year, $42 million deal for Soler in the offseason has not worked out for the Giants. So I understand why the Braves have done this, because over the last month, he's been really good. OPS over 900. His hard hit rate, his barrel rate, if you're into that sort of stuff, significantly better than the rest of the year. I don't know what the Giants are. I did a radio interview in San Francisco yesterday afternoon, and they asked me, how would you describe the San Francisco Giants? And they're really, in my opinion, they are a team without an identity. I don't know which way they're going. I know they've tried for some big swings, and unfortunately, they've had a lot of misses in the offseason with big-name players. I felt like they did a good job at the end of kind of in the spring of getting big-time talent on surprisingly low-end deals, if you will, between Snell and Soler and Chapman, guys like that. I thought they did a good job, but they're just kind of middling in the meh territory. And so I don't know where they are. In fact, I think the biggest question we've got in the last few hours before the deadline is, where are they mentally with Blake Snell? Like, do you expect him to be a Giant at 6 o'clock Eastern or not?
I think they're going to have to be, pretty overwhelmed with the deal to get that done. I was reading up on this. I don't think they won't save much money by trading him, which is interesting. So I don't think that's going to factor into the decision. I would say yes, he's still a Giant, and I agree with you. I think they are one of those teams that's found themselves in the middle here. Obviously attempted. I praised their offseason, Chris. I thought they did a great job. But it just hasn't worked out. So they found themselves in the middle, and they're not too far back. They can go on a run. All these different things can happen, but a lot of teams kind of can say that as well. So do I expect Blake Snell to be there? I do, unless they get overwhelmed with something. I would love Blake Snell to come to the Twins. Don't know if that's going to happen though.
Well, I think there's a lot
I'm
of
teams. Stop saying that because I think I'm going to say that for everybody because we haven't made a move yet.
I think that there's obviously a lot of teams that would love him because he is one of the few difference makers that's available, whether it's on the mound or in the batter's box this trade deadline. There's not that many guys where you're like, ooh,
a difference maker, no qualifying offer attached to him. He's got a player option. The way he's pitching now, you'd expect him to exercise out of that and hit the free agent market again. So, I mean, yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
And by the way, if that's the case, why wouldn't the Giants try and take advantage of an enormous seller's market? We'll talk about the trade that brought Yusei Kikuchi from Toronto to Houston momentarily. And, the early returns on that are like, whoa, what did Houston give up for that? So just imagine what Blake Snell, a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, could fetch you. Who
just struck out 15 dudes.
Yeah. I mean, he is back to the form over the last several starts that made him a Cy Young Award winner again last year. Why wouldn't you trade him?
And if you want to continue trying to compete this year.
I know they're 4 out. I know they're feeling a little bit better. They just got Robbie Ray back. Alex Cobb isn't far behind.
Yeah, they're thinking we're just getting healthy. Like, are we going to tear this down now?
I don't know. I mean, I would be curious to see what the feeling in the clubhouse is today as guys are walking in after a day off and you've just traded a power bat who started to get hot. I know that they want to play, one of their youngsters, Luciano. He's been tearing it up apparently in the minor leagues, but we are talking about an established major league former World Series MVP that you're trading at the time where he's playing the best in a Giants uniform.
What are the Braves going to do with him? Who's playing the outfield between him and Ozuna? You got to imagine. I don't know. I guess they have to make that decision.
Geez, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, someone's got to play the outfield.
Soler has not played. I think all of his games were DH this year for the Giants.
What about Ozuna? I can't imagine he has a ton
of.
Yeah, like he's, if any.
That ain't happening.
So, well, somebody has to, Chris. They can't double DH. That'd be sick.
How fun would that be?
It's all DHs.
Let's just start DHing for multiple positions out there.
Oh man,
that would make the game so much better. Each team could have up to 3 DHs.
I don't hate that idea. Just a bunch of dudes that could go get it in the outfield and it has to be outfielders. How about that?
Why?
Well, pitcher 2, I guess. Pitcher 1 and 2 outfielders. I don't know.
There's some catchers that can't hit either.
That's true.
Okay. Let's move on to this. The Yusei Kikuchi trade. He goes from Toronto to Houston for Jake Bloss. Outfielder Bloss, of course, is a pitcher well thought of in the Astros organization. Outfielder Joey LaPerfido and first baseman Will Wagner, Billy's kid. How much of a wow move is this for a team that has struggled to keep its rotation healthy?
It's an interesting trade here because they are giving up on a few youngsters who have performed well at the high level minor leagues, haven't really got the job done necessarily at the big league level yet, although it's very early on in their careers and you can't really judge upon that. But I don't know what this means for Houston. Obviously, they need somebody. They had a ton of injuries. I'd be like, there's 6 guys on the the injured list as far as starting pitchers for them, so they need some depth. And Kikuchi's been a guy that's been around, but we were talking before the show. How many starts does this guy have? I
This
had it
year,
up. No,
22
overall,
career?
170 something starts. He got a
Mhm.
2.8 career WAR. Like this guy, he hasn't pitched particularly well this year. Nothing's really worked for him. And so unless they're figuring something out, and again, teams do think they're smarter than every team, maybe they're going to change something. But as far as this goes, I was pretty shocked with the amount they had to give up to get him, because it's not like you're getting, someone that you can definitely rely on to come and give you valuable innings. Now, our producer Dan has told me, well, he's pitched really, really well against the Yankees, and maybe that's enough to get the job done. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's what they're thinking. Maybe there's a few opponents that he pitches well against that profile poorly against Kikuchi, but overall, the numbers and kind of what he brings, it's a little shocking to see them go down this route. But when the pickings are slim, you gotta take what's out there. I guess they needed somebody.
They did need somebody, and we've talked a bunch about the lack of starting pitchers, not only available to their major league roster. I'm talking about on their 40-man. They just don't have a ton of them available. So, in the short term, it's going to help. Now, here's some good news: Justin Verlander, Luis Garcia, both expected to throw to batters today.
Yes.
They feel like at some point in the month of August, they are going to be back on the major league roster. They can't exactly pinpoint a date.
Okay.
So that's going to be helpful.
Do you push him now? Is he out 6-man rotation, or is he bullpen guy then?
I think they're going to have to go 6-man rotation just based on some of the innings that these other guys have accumulated, right?
Blanco.
I mean, Blanco, Allegretti.
I guess I get
Allegretti,
that.
sorry.
If eventually he's going to be your 6th starter in your 6-man rotation, you have the ability to move him to the bullpen. He does throw hard.
He does.
So, maybe you get a tick up in the velo, and he's your guy to get Juan Soto out. I mean, I'm spitballing here because on the surface level, it's an interesting trade to me. And I did read an interesting fact that James Click, who was the previous GM of the Astros, is now working for the Blue Jays. And it seems like, maybe he was like, hey, I like these guys, go get them.
Yeah, I don't love the move for Houston, but they did have to get someone. They had to get someone in there that could get them through these waters. And as well as they've done to, cut a 10-game deficit down to nothing, they are even at this point with the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah.
They haven't pulled ahead. They are even with the Mariners now with 2+ months to go. So, look, as far as what they gave up, was Jake Boss going to help them significantly more than Yusei Kikuchi for the rest of this year? I can't say yes. Was he going to help them pass this year? Yes.
Yes.
So from that standpoint, it hurts. It hurts the Astros organization. But they are strictly focused on what is happening right now, because this is a team that could have some significant changes after 2024.
Billy Wagner's kid, that's just like a little dagger right there.
Crazy, isn't it? By the way.
Do you think they're like, you really need him too?
Wow. There you go. I thought good job by Toronto.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to ask me, this is a little off the beaten path.
Okay.
If you're Toronto, you do one of two things today. You extend Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or you trade Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Today.
Okay.
I don't think that's happening.
I don't either. But that's what I would say to do.
Okay.
Because, first of all, did you see the numbers he put up in the doubleheader Monday?
Yes.
16 total bases.
Yeah, he's going off. Earlier in the season, I said maybe he is just a 770 OPS guy. That's what he's done, except for one season, and he is basically telling me to shove it.
I mean, all the guys they've traded so far, these are the easy moves to dictate because they're all in their walk year. All these guys that they've gotten rid of, for the most part. The hard thing was be to decide what to do with Bichette, who's obviously injured and has not played well for about a year plus, and Vlad Guerrero Jr. Both those guys have one more year left on their deals, and then they become free agents. Do something. That's what I would say. Why don't you do something? Treat your dog like a true member of the family. I know you love your four-legged fur baby, but what are you feeding that dog? Are you feeding him the kibble? Let's kick that to the side. How about that goop in a can? Get rid of that stuff as well. I wanted to introduce you to the farmer's dog. It is food that is developed with vets. It's made fresh from real meat and veggies. It's perfectly portioned for your dog, and it's delivered right to your door. Real simple step. All you got to do, farmersdog.com. Fill out a questionnaire. It takes less than 5 minutes. We're talking about the age, the breed of your dog, how much exercise it gets, what it normally eats, and then voila, a package shows up with your dog's name on these perfectly portioned foods. You stick it in the freezer about 24 hours before it's go time. You put it in the fridge, it'll thaw out, and then your dog's going to love it. Believe me, you heard me talk about Sydney all the time. First thing she does is she runs to that fridge. We open it up. We feed her a little bit. And then every time one of the humans is hungry and we go to the fridge, she's like, let me back at that. Farmer's dog. I love it so much. And you know what? It's got health benefits as well. Talking about better skin, better coat of fur, better breath, which is great because as much as we love our puppies out there, sometimes you can be like a fire-breathing dragon or a sports writer, which is even worse. And it makes for easier digestion and smaller, better poops. Healthy diet isn't just important for humans after all. So if you love your dog and you want to keep playing with it, whether it's old or young, begin investing in their health right now. Help keep your dog loving life. You're going to get half off your first box at thefarmersdog.com/today. Plus, you get free shipping. So head on over to thefarmersdog.com/today. You'll get half off. Because at the end of the day, what person doesn't want their dog coming over to them, sticking their tongue out, looking up, and then saying, Rary, Rai-ra-roo, Rai-ra-roo. I know I do. Continue on. Dodgers, Cardinals, White Sox pulled off a 3-team trade. Dodgers got Tommy Edman, Michael Kopech. Cards pick up Eric Fetty, Tommy Pham. The Sox then have Miguel Vargas from the Dodgers, pair of prospects, and a player to be named later. Which team gets the biggest thumbs up?
I think it's got to be the Cardinals here. I mean, you upgrade the rotation with one of the best available starters on the trade market. You get Tommy Pham, a platoon guy that, you know what he brings. He's been there before. He seems to me like a guy that every winning team wants on their roster. And you didn't have to sacrifice any prospects. The Edman for Fetty salary swap is right there, so you're not really bringing on extra money. I think it's got to be the Cardinals here. The Dodgers, I think they're getting what they want. I know Tommy Edman hasn't played this year, but when he does, he's like the ultimate Swiss Army knife, can play anywhere, switch hitter, can do all those things. And the Dodgers need that and value that. I think Kopech is like a super wild card here, Chris. He's kind of like a Joe Kelly, but I think he's got better stuff than Joe Kelly. I've seen him be absolutely lights out. I saw him throw an immaculate inning against my Twins this year. He can get wild, of course, but if they can kind of hone him in, I think that he's going to be a really interesting option for them down the stretch. And then obviously you don't know how the White Sox side is going to turn out. I've seen Miguel Vargas and talked to some people with the Dodgers. They really like him. It hasn't really worked out for him this year, but still, there's a ceiling there for him for sure. And then the other guys I have no idea about. So if you're asking me to pick a winner here, I think it's undoubtedly the Cardinals.
Eric Fetty, have you seen – now listen, he doesn't strike out a ton of guys. He gets basically 8 Ks per 9. His WAR is 4.6. That is better than Corbin Burns, Zach Wheeler, Chris Sale. He's definitely a 6-inning per start guy. You can mark it down. And he's cost controlled. He's signed for next year. What is it? Yes. $7.5 million or something?
Yes.
That's great for a starting pitcher who you know exactly what you're getting out of. I am shocked that the Cardinals were able to pry him away for giving up very little. You mentioned about Tommy Edman. Great dude. They love him there. But when is he going to play?
I believe it's soon.
Yeah. Well, the Dodgers need help, right?
Yes.
No Mookie. No Miguel Rojas now at short. They did just pick up Ahmed Rosario. They haven't had Max Muncy for months at third. They do need infield flexibility right now, and so that's going to be the good thing for them. Kopech, I've never seen a guy who's got such good stuff get hammered by late inning homers as much as this dude.
Me neither.
Right?
I've wondered about that for so long. Like, how are you not an absolute lockdown reliever?
Right. Like he's got everything. He's got the look. He's got the heat.
What do you mean the look? What do you got? He's a handsome guy?
No, he's got the freaking hair. I wish he would let his hair down. I wish he'd let his hair go down.
Yeah, let the hair down.
Yeah, let it eat a little bit.
Hey, he's in Hollywood now, Chris.
Yeah, let's go. But I love this move for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
The White Sox, I hate the trade grades. I understand why, you put it out.
Oh, I love the trade grades. I love them.
No, you don't.
They're silly. Like they don't mean anything.
They
Obviously,
mean
you have
nothing.
no idea, but I love them.
Yeah, well, let's give this team a B. A B? Why? Well, they got their 8th and 13th best prospects, and we don't know what those guys are going to turn into.
Can I let everyone in on a secret?
Yeah.
Everybody talking about baseball, everybody, including us, have no idea how these prospects are going to
Zero.
No idea.
Zero.
I've been in the game for a long time. I can look at a guy and say, that guy looks like he's great. And he's done a lot. Look at the stats in the minor leagues. And there's some things you can really look at: plate discipline, barrel percentage, all these things that you think will translate. Sometimes they don't, because the big leagues, earmuffs, is a motherfucker. That's the bottom line, dude. Eddie Julian is a guy who I was like, this guy is going to be an all-star, one of the best hitters in second baseman hitters in the game. Like I had all my chips in him, and he's been in AAA for most of the year because, the league made an adjustment on him, and he has to make an adjustment. I still believe in him. I think he's going to be like a real deal major league second baseman. But again, like you just don't know. You don't know.
No, that's why that sort of stuff is ridiculous. 2 other things. I saw an interview with Matt Carpenter, who is back in another stint with the Cardinals, just like Tommy Pham. He's like, I love that dude.
Yeah.
I love that dude. He is a great teammate. He busts his ass. And when he was last in St. Louis in 2017, he had his best season, over a 900 OPS. I think he finished 11th in the MVP voting. Now, Father Time will catch up a little bit, but he has those memories, and those fans have that of him. And I think he's going to play a fantastic role. I think this is a really, really good job by John Mozeliak and his crew.
What do you grade it for the Cardinals?
Oh, well, I give it an A+.
No one cares.
I give the White Sox a C, and I'll give the Dodgers a B-, because those are the very important grades. I do want to say this about the White Sox. First of all, this was cute. The White Sox bullpen did a little toast for Kopech on the way out, and somebody what were they
drinking right there?
I don't know what they were drinking, and I'm sorry. My thing with the germs. I
wouldn't do this either. At least a waterfall, right? You do that thing.
I mean, I'll be Brebbia. I'll be the first guy in, but I'm not like number 4 or 5 picking out of a hat.
Can I maybe have a suggestion for them?
Please. They need all the suggestions they can get.
How about you all just get your own and just have a beverage together and like a toast?
Yeah. Payroll and beverage deduction on the south side.
That's is like, nah.
That's what happens when you lose a record 15th in a row. I decided to watch that game, and Brebbia came in. God bless him, because he's a hilarious interview. But, man, you knew that bullpen was going to blow it. After I saw that video, I was like, oh, they're definitely blowing it. And they did when Bobby Witt Jr. hit a grand slam. Oh.
So they broke the record that they set earlier in the year.
Dude, my favorite thing
I'm not laughing, dude. I've been on some bad teams. I'm not laughing. that is not fun.
My favorite thing to do is watch the White Sox postgame show after
what were they saying last night. I can't even imagine.
It was Chuck Garfien, it was Ozzie Guillen, and it was Gordon Beckham, and they were like, "We don't have anything else to say."
Has Gordon turned into like an Ozzie Guillen? Because I haven't really
crusty.
Yeah.
No, he's not quite like that. He's interesting. Gordon Beckham works for 2 different teams. Did you know he works for the White Sox and the Braves?
Yeah, I did. Getting around these days, Gordon, huh?
Yeah, getting that doubled paycheck. That's nice. All right, bunch of other moves by teams in contention. Frankie Montas from the Reds to the Brewers. Lane Thomas, Nats to the Guardians. Justin Turner to Seattle from Toronto. You like any of those in particular? We can do this quickly.
Yeah, I'm mad. I love Lane Thomas. You know that. So I'm not exactly happy that you guys got him, but congratulations. The Montas to Milwaukee is an interesting one because they gave up Weimer and Jacob Junis, and Junis has like been pitching well for them, and Montas has really not been pitching well.
He has not pitched well.
This has like this is one of those things. I said it earlier in the show. Like I think they believe they can fix Montas. They say throw your sinker in your splitter and disregard everything else. Maybe it's just something like that. Obviously, the guy has potential. We've seen him good in Cincinnati. We've seen him good with the A's. Like he has an arm, but that's the biggest head scratcher to me. I was very curious about that. Now I know they need rotational help, and as we mentioned with Kikuchi and the Astros, the pickings are kind of slim right now, especially if you don't want to give up a lot. But it seems to me that was kind of a lot to give up for Montas.
Like yeah,
he's a rental as well.
Yes, he is. He was on a 1-year deal.
That was interesting to me.
Yeah, I hope for Justin Turner's sake he can kind of turn it around up there in Seattle. He's been solid against left-handed pitching, an OPS of almost 800, but at age 39 years old, it's been a little tough for him. It's been a down season. The Lane Thomas move was really interesting. After the show, I went and recorded something just for my Cleveland fan base about, come on, guards, let's do something. We need a right-handed bat. We need a pitcher. Well, we got the right-handed bat. I think he's going to be a platoon guy there. He does add some athleticism. He has almost 30 steals. He's also been caught a dozen times as well. But, once again, against left-handed pitching, he mashes. And he's got over a 900 OPS this year against lefties. We'll see what that all means. I think I like the Guardians move the most, and then Seattle. I mean, if they're able to get into the playoffs, you add Randy Arozarena and Justin Turner, who have pretty good playoff track records.
Yeah.
Could be fun, but they got to help hit them there first. That'll be the big deal. Let's see here. I got to get to Indeed.
Okay, get to it.
Because we're driven by the search for better. So when it comes to hiring, best way to search for a candidate isn't really to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. So if you need to hire, you need Indeed. It is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. So ditch all that busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, for screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. When you're trying to hire somebody, like the worst thing you can do, you're like, oh, God, I got to do all the busy work before I get down to the important stuff, like why the heck I would want you to help our company. Indeed just doesn't help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/baseball. So once again, go to Indeed.com/baseball right now. Support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. It is Indeed.com/baseball. Terms and conditions do apply. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Can't wait to hear about your newest employee that you're hiring, courtesy of Indeed. All right. This is an interesting story. Sox All-Star Garrett Crochet. Is he going to be on the move or is he not? You'll remember last week that Jesse Rogers of ESPN Chicago reported that if traded, the left-hander would only pitch in the playoffs if he received an extension, and he did not want to pitch out of the bullpen if he got moved as well. Here is White Sox GM Chris Getz on those rumors.
I was a little surprised and taken back by how they went about it, considering that I had a conversation with his agent, the night before. I didn't, that's not exactly the tactic that I would have taken, even being a former player, quite honestly. I think we understand, why a stance would be taken like that. Now, how you go about expressing that is what was, a bit hurtful, quite honestly, considering I felt like we could have handled it a little bit differently, and still, I think everyone accomplished what they wanted to accomplish.
What do you think of those words?
I got a lot on that. I know Getsy from his playing days. As he mentioned, he was a former player, if you don't know. I think I have 3 things I want to say. Number 1, it sounds like he got pretty close to Crochet, and that's something that I believe a lot of general managers try to not do. They try to remove emotion from decisions. They try to, I mean, honestly, a lot of times I've heard front office people not even use names. They say the player when they're talking in discussions. They don't want that emotion involved. Now, it sounds like Getz has not been able to do that with a guy like Crochet. He said he remembers driving with him, and when he showed up in his first big league game, it was the first big league stadium he'd been to, and all these different things. It sounded like they had a close relationship. So that's something that's interesting in the moment. And now I kind of forgot the other 2. Number 2, I think that the quotes that I read sound a little bit better when you hear like kind of the tone of his voice. You know, when he was saying all these things about, you know, as a former player and I'm, you know, disappointed, all these things. On paper, it seems worse. When I heard it out loud, I was like, okay, like he's just really expressing his honest take on it, which I feel like is important because a lot of times you just read a headline or see the quote and you don't really get context. So it's important for us to always kind of give that context. And then number 3, I kind of agree with what he's saying. Like he understands why Crochet would ask for something like this. And I think his main point was, well, we could have like figured this out together, like behind the scenes. And we could have, he said, we could have accomplished all of this without having to go out to the media. So I do agree with them in that regard. They should have at least approached him and said, this is what we're looking for. It sounds like that was not the case, that they had a conversation and then all of a sudden that was out to the media, that this is what they wanted. So I think he's just saying, hey, if you would have approached me, I would have tried to facilitate that as well. So those are kind of my takeaways there. Definitely an interesting interview. And we always talk about, hey, we want guys to be forthright. And he was really forthright right there. Yeah, those are my takeaways, Chris.
He was as transparent. He was as transparent as I've ever heard a GM, to be honest with you. I think it's an uncomfortable thing because when we talked about this story last week, we were like neither of us know Garrett Crochet. This is the first time we've heard anything really about him, and it doesn't sound good. Like I thought it was handled poorly. And Getz said during that interview, you know, I had just talked with his representation the previous night. And so there wouldn't have been anything wrong with his agent saying, hey, here's the deal. He wants an extension wherever he goes. Like this.
Agreed. I think that's fine for them to ask for that. I want to make sure everyone understands that point. I think, you know, they might be trying to set a precedent. And I think a lot of players are like, hey, I get where this is coming from. It is a unique situation that he's in. So like, I want everyone to know, like, I'm okay with him asking for that.
So we've seen this in other sports.
Yes.
We have seen it in other sports, and it has tended to work. The thing is that in this sport, because you need several years of service time just to start earning any sort of money, and then several more to get to free agency, like it's hard to turn those wheels. Like I don't know what the end game of Garrett Crochet is right now. Doesn't he want to pitch somewhere where he could win, and then if you win, you get more? Like I'm just kind of confused on how they've gone about this. And so I didn't mind Chris Getz's reaction at all. I didn't. I listened to it and I thought it was honest and I learned a little bit.
He seemed a little sad, right?
He did. Well, he said he used the word, it was kind of hurtful.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. Your first point about him being too close, that might have happened because he was the assistant GM before he was the GM, and I don't know.
He's also not like schooled in like the, he's a former
player.
Like I know, when you talk about your relationships, it's just, he comes from a different type of breed. And what just happened?
Hey man, turn the lights on.
What happened? I don't know what just happened.
Just move your hand.
Is Chris Getz here ready to like say something mean to me?
Do this. Hey, stand up real quick. Let's see if we can do that. And no lights still. That's all right.
Hey.
There we go. We're back. Well, the light is
someone else about to start filming in here. You know what I'm saying?
the lights are shining brightly on Jazz Chisholm, who's had 2 nice games so far for the New York Yankees. Monday night, he took it to Zach Wheeler, hit a homer off him, and then hit one off of Stubbs, a position player. I thought that was reserved only for you in that building in Philadelphia. Apparently not. And with that second homer, Jazz let everybody know he used Aaron Judge's bat. How did that happen, Jazz?
Definitely not going to use that again tomorrow. That bat was so heavy, but I was just like, I don't think I ever got a hit against a position player until tonight. And I was like, you know what, Cap? I'm either going to go up there right-handed or I'm going to go use your bat. He's like, go ahead, use my bat. And it just worked.
Can I start by saying that it's pretty impressive you're able to put in your diamond studs earrings while you're doing the interview? I mean, I can't do 2 things at once, so that was impressive.
You also don't have any diamond studs.
How do you know?
Can I start this out by saying something?
Yeah.
Neither of us care that Jazz Chisholm wears his hat backwards with the Yankees. We're just saying the Yankees seem like a franchise that's like interesting, and it was kind of talked about on social media. That's all. I love that the Yankees way is kind of getting broken down a little bit. And apparently so do a lot of the young Yankees fans. I mean, Joe's McFly is all about that. Our producer, Dan Work's all about that. We're around Yankees people all the time.
Yeah.
We don't care what Jazz does. I applaud people for being able to do this. So like anybody that's trying to come at us saying, why are we getting at Jazz? We're just saying, and again, sorry, I don't watch a lot of post-game pressers with the Yankees. I'm going to say that right now. So Juan Soto does it. Awesome. This Yankee way, like they need a little bit of that.
Totally.
Okay. So like, relax everybody.
Yeah. Well,
everybody,
and people are saying, well, why is it a story? Well, because when there are several reports that people inside of the Yankees organization are worried about, his demeanor and that he could be a loose cannon at times. Now, whether or not you want to believe those reports are up to you. This is what we do on these shows. We talk about reports all the time, whether they're trade reports, whether they're reports on people's demeanors or attitudes. That's what we do. We didn't just come up with this and we look at it and be like, oh, I hate that Jazz Chisholm's wearing his hat back.
Oh my gosh. No,
hey, let me tell you something.
Okay, go ahead. You go first, then let me talk.
Here's what I'm going to say.
Okay.
Be whoever the hell you are. That's how I roll through life. As long as you are a good person and a good teammate and you're not affecting anybody else with what you're doing, go be whomever you are. I don't care what you wear. Go express yourself. That's the world I come from. I love it when people are exactly who they are. So people are like, well, you're just picking on that. I don't care. All I'm saying is that some people of a particular fan base might care. And that I could be wrong with that opinion, but that is my opinion. You may continue.
Thank you. The best part about that was him talking about how heavy Judge's bat is.
Yes.
All I want to do now is feel how heavy it is. I need to know what weight Judge's bat is.
Quickly, who swung the heaviest bat that you ever played with?
Carlos Gomez, one spring training game, took up, there's like, everyone has different bats, slight bats, huge weighted bats. One game he took up a bat that was around like 50 ounces up there, which the typical bat is 30 to 33 ounces. 32 is kind of like the mark that most people have, 31, 32. There was a training bat and he took it up and hit a home run with it. These guys are freak, dude. If people don't remember Carlos Gomez, go watch some highlights. He was an absolute freak.
By the way, he's another guy who people did not love. If you remember the whole Brian McCann situation, like people could not stand the flair that he had for the game. I loved it. I always thought he was
the noises he would make when he ran was just something else.
What does that mean?
I'm serious. I'm being serious, dude.
That's great. That's great. Okay, here's the deal. Trade deadline, 6:00 Eastern. We are starting a Baseball Today live feed, I believe, right? At 4:30 Eastern.
Talking baseball today?
Talking baseball. Sorry, talking baseball.
Yes.
Yeah, there will be a bunch of us that'll be jumping in and out. You'll be joining it from the stadium. I know Jake's going to be on it. I think I'll drop in. Jolly might be a part of it. Joe's, Shelfie, just a bunch of different voices, opinions of what teams are doing, what they didn't do. So make sure you just join us. It's the fun way to handle the trade deadline. Okay. It's great when your team makes a deal. It's great when you get an infuse of fun new prospects. It sucks when your team doesn't make the trade that you want. We're going to encompass all of that. So make sure you join us. Okay. Sound good?
Yes. I have reserved a room at Citi Field. I'm locked in.
Wow. You reserved a room.
I did. I
Citi
legit.
Field.
I'm gonna have my own room. Yeah.
Is it a broom closet?
It's a auxiliary television booth.
You reserved an auxiliary television booth.
I did. I'm kind of big time out here.
Oh, that is big. Wow. All right. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, our amazing intern, Tommy Young, that is the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe, who is so big time, he has reserved his own auxiliary television booth just for our trade deadline stream. I am Chris Rose. We will see you Wednesday here on Baseball Today.